So whether you go to a community college or whether you take it in a 4-year institution, the bottom line is you're just getting rid of not getting rid of, you are
Taking.
satisfying the requirement of required classes. For the last 2 years or 3 years, depending upon how long it takes you to complete your degree, then you start taking business courses, accounting courses, whatever your major is. Okay. And for that, you need a 4-year school. But think of how many people could benefit. I mean, and even if you don't take what they would call the first 2 years of college preparatory, the required courses, Obama was stressing the fact that since so many Americans have lost their jobs because the new technology, so their jobs are just no longer exist. And what he wanted to do was get more people into training programs so that somebody in their 40s who doesn't want to start a 4-year degree all over again can take classes that would prepare him or her to enter into some area of business, serving like a training program. And unfortunately, that was one of the things that everybody applauded and said it's a great idea. But when it comes to proposing it in a bill, we probably find that there are stipulations added on, as Felix and I were talking about, pork that has absolutely no business being attached to that bill. Okay, but it's just another way of stalling so that it never comes up for approval or even a vote.
Well, what do you think? You think school?
Me?
Yeah, you think it should be free schooling at least the first 2 years?
I think all years should be free. I'm sorry. I mean, look at the way people are living today in our country. You barely are living. You have to have 2 incomes, and then if you're a couple and you're not divorced, which is highly unlikely these days, someone in the household has to have 2 or 3 jobs just to make sure that your kids go to school, that they go to the good schools and they get a good education. And me as a parent, I worry 10 or 11 years down the road when Samantha's ready to go to college. College now is ridiculous. I mean, the prices are just astronomical. What is it going to be when she goes? I want to make sure she has a good education. I want to make sure she has a profession. I don't want her to struggle in life. I worry more about the future than now. And it's sad the way things are going in this country.
Well, it's true. It is. And that's... Unfortunately, a lot of people don't.
In order to make a living, you have to have a profession. You can't have one of these remedial jobs. I mean, no offense to anybody who has one. I mean, I don't have the greatest job. Well, I'm out right now. But, I mean, they say you have to have a profession in order to make it in life.
I'm a firm believer in if somebody wants to go to college, they should be able to. The city university system, the way it was set up, should be, from what you're talking about, the free part of higher education. In other words, yes, you could go to a state university or a private institution, but you have to pay. Okay? City university...
Yeah, no, but that's if you live in New York City. What if you're in Nassau, Suffolk County, Yonkers?
They have 2-year institutions.
Yeah, but not
Now,
4-year.
Well, their 4-year schools fall into state universities where
Yeah.
you have to pay.
You have to pay. But I'm saying, but New York City used to have schooling that was practically free.
Only the city.
When was
Yeah, that's
that?
what I
It's
said.
it's like major cities like Los Angeles. Los Angeles City College. It was like New York City College.
I don't know
It's
if Los
free.
Angeles had it or not.
It's free. Okay.
I wouldn't know.
You choose not to live in the city. You can still, you could still go to Queens College or Brooklyn College living in Nassau or Suffolk,
You have to.
but you have to pay a commuter fee. It's not as much, it's not free, but it's certainly a hell of a lot less. Okay, and what many people do, they could live out here and go to Queens College, which is what a lot of them do. They get their 4-year degree from Queens,
I know, but I'm saying this should be available, not just in New York City. It should be available everywhere.
Well,
That's my point. New York City is great, but what happens if you're living in Albany?
they have 2-year institutions in Albany.
I'm talking about 4-year schools.
Well, the university at Albany
Yeah, but that's a state school.
costs
It's
you
expensive.
$12,000-$13,000 a semester or a year.
Mark, you're missing my point. We're talking about free schooling or near free
No,
schooling.
you're just being argumentative.
No.
Every county is different, Felix.
I understand that. What I'm saying, they should have that everywhere.
You want to have it? Pay more in taxes.
Well, that's
You're the
what I-
business person.
That's
pay
what I
more in
said all
taxes.
along. You have to pay more in taxes. I said that.
Well,
I said you have to pay more in taxes.
but nobody is stopping somebody who lives in Nassau County from going to Brooklyn College, City College. My next door neighbor goes to CCNY. Okay, he's taking computer science. All right. That's okay. He pays a commuter tax to go to the school.
He pays a tuition, not a tax. There's a computer tuition.
Why? What did I say?
Tax.
No, it's a either way, it's a commuted tuition, but
Well-
still, but they're not free anymore. City colleges are no longer free.
I don't ever remember a city college being free.
It was $50
Well, don't
a
forget
semester.
we have close to 20 years on you. Okay, I'm talking about
That's
19.
true, but
I'm talking about
even so, I
1966.
don't really remember. Well, then again, my uncle went to Brooklyn College, and I think he went free.
Well, when I say free, it cost me $75 a semester. Okay, and then I had to buy
I'm sure
books.
that's what he paid, because he's 65, 66. He's something like that. He's up there. I know that.
Oh
Well-
my God, he's up there.
That's why I said you're talking
Sorry.
about the 1960s. It was still free. I don't remember when they started to charge like $3,000 or $2,500 a semester to go to the 4-year
Probably
school.
when I started, when I was starting, because I graduated high school in 1984. So that the September of '84 is when I did go to Kingsborough for like 6 months. I'm a 6-month dropout. Sorry to say, but I don't remember. I think it was like 12. I think it was 1,200 on financial
Yeah, it
aid.
started
Again,
out-
that wasn't full financial aid.
I mean, when
And
you
then I
think
had to
about
stop going because I just couldn't afford it.
it, when you think about it now, it seems like a pittance. Okay, $1,200, $1,250, $1,500.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at what it costs now. Okay,
It's ridiculous.
and I really feel for students when when the governor, because it's not the mayor, when the governor talks about raising the cost of higher education, and he'll say, it'll go up from $2,500 a semester to $3,500 a semester. That $1,000 rate increase could make it or break it for an ordinary person. Maybe all that person,
Exactly.
maybe all that with money that they can put down on their own. Maybe when it comes to borrowing money, they couldn't get approval for the extra money. What are they supposed to do? And these institutions want their money. They want their money up front. They don't let you complete registration until your bill has been satisfied.
No, I agree. Look, I have friends that their kids they're starting college now, or some of them are getting accepted for next year. Now, I have friends that live in Florida. I don't even ask because I don't really want, it's none of my business, but I want to know how they're going to afford. Their daughter just got accepted to Florida State. How are they affording that?
I'll tell you right now, there is a vast difference in tuition between somebody who is an out-of-stater and somebody who lives within the state. Okay.
But isn't Florida State like one of the top schools? I mean,
well, no. Florida State is it's a big football school. Okay.
True.
University of Miami is like NYU. Okay. It's a private institution, so they can charge whatever they want. But the bottom line is that if you live in Florida and you go to the University of Miami, you pay less in tuition than somebody from New York who goes to the University of Miami. All right. New York schools are the only schools that I know of, and I can't speak for California or anything, but the only schools that I know of where if you're a resident of New York and you're going to a state school, you pay the same thing that you do as if you were not a New York student. New York State schools, because they're so good, they get a lot of Connecticut students and they get quite a bit of Jersey students. And these students pay only a pittance more than people who live in New York State. And this used to upset me that New York didn't have a proviso where if you're a New York State resident and you're going to a New York State school, you would get like special dispensation. It wouldn't cost so much, So, again, if you have friends who live in Florida, the tuition that they're paying to go to FSU is much less than if Samantha wanted to go there, unless she could establish residence 6 months before she applies. If you had a relative.
Well, that's what I would probably do. I would use either my uncle or aunt's address or my cousin's address. I would use someone down there. I mean, if she was seriously wanting to do that.
Well, it's true. It's true. It's the only way to do that. And again, we're talking about state-sponsored colleges. Okay, we're not talking about private institutions. Private institutions can charge whatever they want because they are private. But the difference is that private institutions usually get more in grant money, okay, from the government, so they have more money to loan out. And again, people have to understand the difference between grant money and loans. Loans have to be paid back. And if you get a grant, that's free and clear. You don't have to pay that back at all.
Right. It just seems like it's just getting harder and harder, and it upsets me. It doesn't kill me, it upsets me.
Well, I sort of digressed when I was talking about